Continue with our conversations. That's Wamule with Ingelek. Over the last couple of weeks, we've been talking about cryptocurrency. So we had Luno, Valor, and we had that boy, I can't remember. I'd say boy with all respect, young gentleman, who is a Bitcoin purist. He's not interested in anything else. He doesn't believe in anything else. So Impilo, my producer, is obsessed with cryptocurrency. And I'm not going to lie, I'm learning as we go along. I mean, I'm just, as they say, the Madala in the building. And so it's an interesting conversation, this whole idea of cryptocurrency. And all of us can remember that day when Bitcoin was $1 and then it became $7 and nobody was interested, and now you know what it is worth. So Centbee is a South African-based company that has built a user-friendly Bitcoin SV. I don't know what that is. We're going to find out what it is. Helping people buy, store, and use crypto seamlessly in their daily lives. I'm now joined by the CEO, Lorian Gamaroff. Lorian, good morning. Thank you for joining me.
Thanks, Sam. Nice to be here.
So, what do we need to know about crypto that we don't know, Lorian, before we talk about Centbee and the work that you guys do?
Yes, and you said there was that guy who was talking about being a Bitcoin purist.
Yes.
And that's a very important notion.
Cole. His name is Cole.
Cole.
Do you know Cole?
I don't.
Okay.
No.
He's also got a YouTube channel where he educates younger people.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, but when he says that, you've got to be. Now you say, what is this? What are we talking about here? And I have to tell you that since Bitcoin was invented, 2009, 2010, it came along. People have forgotten what Bitcoin is, and it's now become this whole universe of crypto.
Yeah.
You see? And what is crypto?
That makes sense to me.
Yes, and you said, Bitcoin was at $1, and now it's at whatever price it is now.
Yeah.
It's about 88, whatever now. And Bitcoin was never meant to be this investment. It was never meant to be this trading vehicle.
Yeah.
And when Bitcoin came along, people were looking at it as cash. It was meant to be a new way of making payments on the internet.
It was meant to be decentralized, right?
Well, the title of the Bitcoin white paper, where the guy, Satoshi designed it, he said it's peer-to-peer cash, electronic cash. And for 40 years, the world has been waiting for a cash for the internet. We use credit cards today on the internet, but the credit card was never meant for the internet. And in fact, when the internet was coming along back in the 1990s, it went through this hype and then it crashed in 2000. It was called the dot-com bubble.
Burst, yeah.
And why did it crash? Because people didn't want to put their credit cards into the internet. Because if you give your credit card information to somebody, they can take it, they can use it, they can steal it.
Whatever they want.
You're keeping your credit card information in a company, now they get hacked. And so for 40 years since the internet, the world has been waiting for a cash that you can pay reliably, safely, and cheaply on the internet. And also micropayments, not $50 or 100 Rand or whatever, 1 cent. Being able to pay 1 cent on the internet. And you think, well, what are you going to buy for 1 cent? But, the whole internet business model is about advertising because we can't make 1 cent payments to view a video or view an article or something like that. So when we talk about what Bitcoin was, and this guy Cole talking about being a Bitcoin purist, he's talking, I assume, about the original idea of Bitcoin as cash. Now, of course, not only do we have cryptos where everybody's just pumping and dumping and trading and meme coins and all this kind of stuff.
Even Trump joined that.
Trump coin, And so even Bitcoin itself, though, has become divided and separated, and there are multiple versions of Bitcoin. You talked about Bitcoin SV. You don't know what that is. There are many different versions of Bitcoin. And when we talk about being a purist, I hope Cole is talking about the original version of Bitcoin. By the way, that is not the one that's on the exchanges today at $1 million a pop. You see?
Very interesting. So maybe that then leads us to the perfect question about your business and how it started and what have you identified in the market that was missing?
Yes. Well, I got into Bitcoin before it was even $1. 2010,
Okay.
I was working at an energy startup, and I was looking for people a way for people in Africa here to buy electricity for prepaid meters. And, you have to find a way, if you don't have a credit card, if you don't have a bank account, how do people buy electricity without using physical cash? You have to go to a vendor, you've got to go to a store. You're sitting there in your house, prepaid meter, the electricity goes out, but you don't have a bank account. How do you buy electricity? And so when Bitcoin came along, it came out saying, here we have this electronic cash that you don't need a bank account, that is global, that is low cost, that is financial inclusion. That was the idea. And so I was very excited about this now being able to be used in the system I was building for people to buy electricity. And this was about now 2011, 2012, 2013, around about then. I was working on the system. And then I demoed it. I went to the first Bitcoin conference here in Cape Town. I spoke at that in, I forget when it was, 2015 probably.
That was a while ago.
Yes, it's on YouTube. You can go see it. And I brought this smart meter system there with a light there. And I was in I said to the audience, okay, send a rand to this meter. And as soon as they did that, the lights went on. There was even a whole documentary about it. You can go and look it up about this project I did at the school in Soweto here, where foreign donors could donate electricity directly to the school, directly to the clinics.
I love it.
Yes.
And it cuts out corruption.
Cuts out the corruption. It makes it cheap to buy stuff. But the problem was that it was too early.
Yeah. You were just ahead of the trend.
Too ahead, and the problem was, well, how do people get Bitcoin? How do they use it? How do they spend it? It was all complicated. It still is complicated today.
Yeah,
you have to download software, or you've got to go and rely on Bitcoin exchanges and stuff. And so I thought, well, that's it. I need to build a Bitcoin wallet that is easy to use, simple. It's got no trading. It's no complexity. And it's aimed at young people, students, teenagers who want to buy stuff. So I thought, let me build Centbee, let me build a Bitcoin wallet, make it easy for people to top up their wallet with money, with Bitcoin, and then they can go and buy things and spend it just the way the inventor Satoshi Nakamoto intended.
Why do you still think, though, Lorian, it's so complex? Why are we still struggling, even now? I mean, it's years later. Crypto's here, it's done its thing. We heard Warren Buffett say, well, I don't invest in anything I don't understand. And then at some point, Trump didn't do the thing, and then Elon got involved, and now there's so much information out of it, but it's still complex.
Yes, it's so complex because people, first of all, it's a new kind of technology. Now, when I say new kind, I don't mean this brand new kind. It's very similar to the internet. When we talk about the internet, we're not talking about websites and apps. We're talking about the internet protocol, they call it, the network that allows information to move. Now, Bitcoin has the same thing. It's this protocol called blockchain. Okay, so now we have to try and understand how this network technology works. So immediately, that's quite complex for people. But now, of course, we have different cryptos, different blockchains, all trying to do all these different things and all this jargon, smart contracts, DeFi, tokens. There's so much jargon and different concepts around blockchain that it's very hard for people to now try and understand what is going on. Now, that is not the fault of Bitcoin. That is the fault of all the people who have come along now and are trying to take that idea of Bitcoin and morph it into things that they believe are going to be useful to people.
Are you from a very kind of loose perspective, you're saying that a lot of people have taken stuff and tried to work out how can they make more money off it?
Well, there's that, of course, and that's just the trading, people speculating on exchanges, like I said, pumping and dumping. But people trying to also change Bitcoin, the technology, so that it becomes more anonymous or more what they call decentralized. And when they say decentralized,
even more decentralized than it currently is.
Well, what they say what they mean by decentralization is not that it's this distributed network that is resilient. If one part goes down, the other part maintains, or that we can now have direct digital payments between each other in a peer-to-peer way. That's what decentralization means. But what decentralization has come to mean now is that it's ungovernable, unstoppable.
Yeah.
The government can't come and stop this thing.
And that is not a reality. There's no world we're going to live in where the powers that be that have to make sure that fiat currencies may maintain there, even though they have no real value. There's no way. We've now seen even the banks are starting to talk about crypto. And so once the banks get involved, they do what they do, regulation, paperwork, and all the other stuff. I don't think that will ever exist.
It won't ever exist. And this is this naive dream that people in crypto have. They think that they can create a technology that governments can't stop or can't control.
That is crazy.
They think, you talked about fiat currencies, money that's, inflated, loses value.
Yeah.
And people
Not backed
think
by gold.
And people think now Bitcoin is meant to replace that financial
Will
system.
never happen.
It will never happen. But now the amazing thing people don't understand is that Bitcoin wasn't meant to replace that system. It wasn't meant to undermine.
It was a credible alternative option.
It was a complementary option.
Yeah.
In other words, instead of now having to use expensive payment intermediaries, we can just have a digital cash network that complies with all the rules. You can do what's called KYC. You can identify people who are transacting. This is very important when it comes to transactions. Governments need to know who's transacting, where's the money going. They need to know if there's money laundering. How can they trace that money laundering? If there's terrorists or whatever, how do they seize the funds? And what people don't understand today is that Bitcoin was built to aid regulators. It was meant to eliminate fraud. It was meant to be a system that governments could govern and control. But the message was lost because in the early days, there was the Silk Road online drug marketplace. There was the WikiLeaks that started accepting donations in Bitcoin.
Julian Assange, yeah.
And people thought, okay, Bitcoin is this anonymous payment system. This is what we want. And so all these influencers who like anarchy, they want to try and eliminate.
The counter narrative. Yeah.
They became the prominent people in the Bitcoin space. And their messaging was now what people would listen to. If you wanted to understand more about Bitcoin, you would hear, oh yes, it's permissionless, it's decentralized, unstoppable, unconfiscatable.
And you're saying it's not that.
That is what people wanted it. And that's why even today now they have changed Bitcoin. And they are trying to make Bitcoin more anonymous, more unstoppable. And that is why we have the different versions of Bitcoin. The Bitcoin SV stands for the Satoshi's vision, or his version, the Satoshi Nakamoto vision of Bitcoin.
Centbee SV, that's what it stands for.
Bitcoin SV, or BSV, if you go onto an exchange. Then we have BTC, which is now the one that's on the exchanges today.
Yes, which I've seen.
That is now the changed version of Bitcoin, where they are trying to make it more anonymous, more decentralized. Governments can't control it, they can't stop it. And so that is now the world we're living in. You talked about the complexity. Not only do we have many cryptos all trying to do different stuff, but we also now have different Bitcoins. And it's very difficult to try and find information about what Bitcoin was meant to be.
And how does your Centbee wallet work?
Well, it's meant to be a mobile money app. So what you do is you load Bitcoin onto your phone. So you top it up. You can go to a place where you can top it up. We used to have some available options here in South Africa. Like you can go to the store, top up, or you can do EFTs or something into your wallet. But that's just topping up your wallet now with Bitcoin SV. Then what you can do is you can then purchase stuff like electricity, mobile data, Uber. You can shop online. You can shop at retailers.
You can currently do that with the Centbee wallet.
We just have temporarily suspended those services because South Africa right now has a new licensing regime. And what they require is these crypto asset service providers to become licensed, and then we'll be able to then offer those services again. So we're just going through that licensing process right now. And then once we've completed that, we're going to relaunch all those services here in South Africa.
So if you get the Centbee wallet now, what will it provide you?
So at the moment, it's just a simple Bitcoin SV wallet.
Okay.
There's no charts, there's no trading. It's meant to be mobile money. It's not meant to be thought of as an investment. It's cash. When you've got cash in your wallet, are you looking at it every day, seeing if it's going up in value? No. You want to spend it.
You'd be loony if you did.
And that's what Bitcoin is. But now, unfortunately, we live in this world where people think it's about gambling. It's about buying it and holding and waiting for it to go to the moon. And of course, that's what's happening.
That is so true. And I must admit that I've fallen victim to that thinking, because as a non-expert, that's what I told my wife. She wants to buy, and I said, no, you just got to hold and forget about it for 5 years.
Yes.
Yeah.
And what's going to happen in 5 years, though, is you're going to turn around and it's going to be ashes in your digital wallet because it's unsustainable. This whole, or the price of it, if you think about it.
I'm looking at Mpilo, looking at you going, when you said it's unsustainable.
Well, think about it. I mean, if something is valuable, what makes something valuable? Useful. It has to be useful. It has to be something that gives you a benefit, right? That's what value means. Value doesn't mean price. You see, the price, there's a famous Warren Buffett quote. He says, price is what you pay and value is what you get. And when it comes to these cryptos, you are paying a high price, but there's no value there. You can't do anything with these cryptos. You can't, there's nothing that it's for, you see? And so,
other than someone else buying it from you.
Exactly. So it's almost like when you think about a collectible, you know, if you're collecting in the 1990s, there was this thing called Beanie Babies, these little soft toys, and they were going for like $50,000 or something for one of these toys. But then eventually it collapsed because, you know, people were like, okay, we don't want these things anymore. And these cryptos like BTC, like Ethereum or Ripple or anything like that.
USD, Litecoin.
Well, USD at least is backed by a United States dollar, you see. Well, it's supposed to be. That's the idea. But BTC, there's no use. You can't do anything with it. And so, like you say, the only thing that you can do when you buy it is hope that there is what's called a greater fool who's going to come along and buy it at a higher price than you. There's no one who's going to buy it because they need it, to use it. You know, gold, people say, well, gold, what do you use it for? Gold is a very useful metal. For thousands of years, people have wanted gold, jewelry, whatever.
Lorian, do you find, I mean, you said that you run a podcast platform and you unpack a lot of these stuff.
Yes.
Are you the dissenting voice amongst the crypto community at the moment? Are you the one that people, when they see you, they go, here comes Lorian Gamaroff?
Absolutely. You know, when I first started out, I was the first person in Africa to be pushing this idea of blockchain. As I said, it was 2010, and I became known as Mr. Blockchain, Mr. Bitcoin. You know, I was invited to not only local conferences, but international conferences, because I was now very actively pushing this idea of Bitcoin, but as digital cash. Then the crypto came along, and the crypto split, Bitcoin split, and I started speaking out against the crypto world about you can't have an unregulated system. These cryptos are useless.
And that's what they've been wanting.
So now I don't get invited to these crypto conferences anymore. They don't want to see me there. But you know what I'm always doing? And I mean, I just was last week in 2 different conferences. I'm going to be at more conferences. I go to these fintech conferences, these iGaming conferences, these regulation conferences, payment conferences, because the industry wants to hear what I have to say. The real world, not the crypto industry, because there I'm speaking out against it. But I'm here to now explain the practical use cases for Bitcoin, SV, Satoshi's version of Bitcoin, and how it can improve our lives, how it can make businesses more efficient, bring down the costs of transactions, cross-border remittances. You know, that in Africa, they're so expensive. Imagine now, you know, you can reduce those cross-border fees, how it can help people across the continent. And so that's, to this day, 15 years later, I'm still pushing that idea. And, you know, I think that I can start seeing it happen. But it definitely takes education. And it's a big job.
And I love that. Lorian Gamaroff, who's the CEO of Centbee, talking to us not only about the wallet, but the practical application of how we actually should look at Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. And I think it's very fascinating. Your YouTube platform, where can people go if they want to learn more from you?
Yes, so we're on YouTube and on Spotify. It's called The Centbee Show. So that's C-E-N-T, Cent, B-E-E.
As in B?
And B. So Centbee Show. And my colleague and I, Kagiso, KG, we talk about these concepts. It's aimed at a younger audience.
Not me, at you.
16 to 25, but anybody. I mean, look, it's anybody. And what we try and do is we try and explain these concepts in a way that's easy to understand, no technical jargon. And we try and make the show fun.
Practical applications. Applications. I think that's the most important.
Absolutely.
So thank you for your time. We're 2 minutes away from top of the hour news. As you know, it's only positive news. After that, we'll have some more great interviews with awesome South Africans doing stunning stuff to drive this brand South Africa forward.